It's quite common here to see people on the train not giving their seat up for elders, for, you know, sometimes you have old grandmas there, you'll have grandfathers, and a lot of young people will just pretend that they don't see them. I mean, I know that to some degree, you know, that's present in a lot of cultures, but I found it more prevalent here. I found that it was more, I noticed it a lot more. And I also noticed, particularly when I first came here, that a lot of boyfriends would sit down and leave their girlfriends to stand, and I found that very unusual. Things are slightly beginning to change, like I've noticed that more fellas letting their girlfriends sit down, which is nice because I'm one of those people that does value chivalry, and when I don't see it, I find it a little bit, I guess a little bit disconcerting, especially when you see it on such a large scale. It's so convenient to literally get off a train, or just before you go on a train, to actually have access to all of these stand-up stalls that are offering, you know, quick to eat food. Like, say for example, there's a food here called tteokbokki, which is rice cakes in like a red hot sauce. That's not my favourite thing to eat. I usually like to get gimbap, which is essentially what we Westerners mostly call things like sushi rolls or California rolls, and just lots of different snacky things available at a really, really good price. Usually dotted around subway stations, inside subway stations, and so for like $3, $5, you know, you can just quickly eat lunch on the go, or just stand there, eat it, and then, you know, and wander off. And on a separate note, I just generally love the food. I published an article. I had about 5 collaborators actually on that article. This is a while back, but I'll link it down in the description below. Our favourite Korean dishes. My friend Sariska, my friend Sophie, and lots of friends actually got involved in that project. Really, really cool. Korean food is friggin' delicious. A lot of people love it that move here. One thing that I find really, really challenging, and it varies from person to person because it also depends on what your living situation is like. Now, a lot of English language teachers, that includes myself, you're in a situation where you are living in a bachelor apartment, so you essentially have a room that has a kitchen attached and then a bathroom off separately. But the thing is that you end up living in such a small space. Check this out behind me. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can't see it? Yeah, there we are. That's the cable car going up and down the mountain of Namsan. So essentially you end up in a situation where sometimes you're so close to your neighbours that you can hear them having a shower, you can hear them doing a pee, you know, if they sing in the morning, you know, you're gonna hear that as well. And, you know, let's stand over here for a moment. It can get quite challenging when you have a neighbour that does something that's particularly frustrating. Like, for example, right now, for the most part, I've got really, really good neighbours, but when I first moved in, there was a lady beside me that had a really bad cough, and, you know, I felt really bad for her, but the thing is that also I would hear her coughing like periodically through the night, and it would interrupt my sleep because it was so loud, and I guess that her bed was on the other side of my wall. And so the situation was essentially that, you know, because of the proximity of your neighbours, that you end up, you know, kind of being on top of each other more or less. Like currently with my neighbour, I can hear the lady upstairs walking, I can hear her dragging furniture around, I hear her stomping around at 2 o'clock 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and then other times I hear her waking up at 5 a.m. So, but the thing is, I've also been to expats' homes where they've got, you know, like a nice 2-bedroom house, and so it really varies, you know, outside of Seoul mostly, because within Seoul it can be challenging to get a home that is larger than a bachelor apartment that gives you a nice space to live in. But overall, a lot of housing within Seoul in particular is very small, and you'll hear your neighbour's noise, and you just got to pray that your current neighbour is actually a good one and that doesn't stomp around like a hippopotamus and that doesn't drag furniture around and stuff like that, and doesn't sing you know, sing for long periods of time and things like that. So yeah, I'm gonna just wander this way and hope it leads toward Myeongdong or one of those places, but actually I'm not sure. That's the wonderful, one of the wonderful exciting things about living in Seoul is that there's just, it's so easy to get lost because it's so large. So I think I'm going to walk past this little park area and see where it leads. There's still a lot of ice left over from the winter. Winter hasn't completely gone, but... So here's a great view, by the way, of the Seoul Tower just behind me. Okay, so we are headed toward Heuhon Station, which is actually where the market is. There's a market there, Namdaemun Market, which is a fantastic place for getting avocado. So perhaps I'm going to wander through and see if I can find some avocado before I wander on to meet my friends. Check out the view. Great, right? Fashion here is interesting because when something comes in fashion, like everybody starts wearing it. Like for example, this winter and last winter, ever since the Olympics, according to my friend Chanmi, she explained that these big puffer jackets that make you look like penguins have been really popular here since the Olympics. And so in 2018, so that was last year, fashion trends, like, you know, when everybody here starts wearing runners, you know, it's just something that catches on, that the whole population seem to... Wow, what's down there? A trail that leads to who knows where. I'm just going to stick with the path so that I know that I'm going to be heading towards civilization sooner or later. So, as I was trying to say earlier, that there was a trend going on that was very feminine that I really liked when I first arrived here in Korea. Now it's a lot more cash. It's actually kind of interesting how much fashion has changed since I've been here. But anyway, lots of competition, lots of variety. You want to look at the shoes?